everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and today I'm going to be bringing you my August reading wrap-up. I want to talk about all the things I read in the month of August, which was surprisingly not a lot. I was quite busy finishing up level 12 and then just like doing nothing for the second half of the month, so I was gloriously relaxed after I got the big project finished. So I did read a few books though. I read 5 books in the month of August. 2 of them are graphic novels, 1 was an ebook, and 2 are physical novels. So I'm just going to go in like no particular order and tell you about the books I read. So I'll start off with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Volume 1, High School is Hell. This is the brand new series they're putting out now, which is like a reimagined Buffy the Vampire Slayer during like today and instead of being set in the 90s. So I'll say right off the bat, I don't know how I feel about this. I went into it with really high expectations and I put the book down and went, like, why did we do this? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. There are some things that I really liked. There are a lot of things that I didn't, and I don't want to get spoilery, so I'm going to try not to go into detail, but some of the characters behaved in ways that I was just like, what are we doing? What's even happening? Why would we do this? How does this benefit the story? It just, to me, took away from the characters that I've known and loved for many years and like affects their arcs in ways that I don't think make sense to the story as I remember it being. And I watch Buffy like fairly regularly, so like I'm familiar with the story and the characters, so I don't know, but I will say the art is gorgeous in this. There are a few character changes that I really did appreciate, specifically Anya. I thought was done really well. I liked that. It took me a minute to figure out who she was though, because my brain was thinking Lila for some reason until they said her name and I was like, oh, okay. So I don't mind that change at all. Actually, I think it's a really intriguing change. I liked a lot of the different modern-y things they did. Like, I don't know, my issues mostly were things to do with character arcs that I thought didn't make sense overall. If you want my thoughts more on that and you don't mind spoilers, we can chat in the comments. I think I ended up giving it a 3-star. The other graphic novel I read was The Walking Dead, Volume 28, A Certain Doom. My original plan was to just like binge the rest of the series now that I have all of it, and that has not happened. But I did at least read the next volume and I really liked it. I gave this one, I think, 4 stars. And I appreciated the things that happen in this. There are some major deaths that I thought were really well done, and I will say that whenever I read this, if it's been a while, I have to like realign my brain because I tend to think in terms of the show characters more than I do in terms of the book characters, and so it's always sort of a like shock to the system and I'm like, oh, this person's not dead, or oh, he's still there, or like, oh, she's around. Like, I don't know. It takes me a second to realign, but once I'm there, and I really, really liked a lot of the stuff that happened in this volume. Again, I don't want to be spoilery, but, you know, there's some pretty big things that happen, and I liked it. I felt the right emotion. It felt the gravity of it. I enjoyed it. I'm very interested to see how the show takes on the rest of this arc, because they've set some things up to do the right thing as far as what actually happens in the comic. Obviously, they've changed some major things, which obviously is a different story now, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff from this that they could still do and it would still make sense. So I'm hoping to see that. The ebook I read this month was, ooh, that's where you can't see that. Okay, was We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. And I'm going to say that I gave this like 3.5, like 3.75 stars if we're going to get really specific, but I enjoyed this quite a lot. I really enjoy Grady Hendrix's writing. His storytelling is just perfect for when you don't want to have to like think too hard, but you want a really fun story, if that makes sense. Like, it's very digestible. And this story in particular was great. It's about a rock band from the 90s, like a heavy metal band, and they broke up and the lead singer has gone on to big fame, but the rest of the band is just sort of falling apart. Their lives aren't great at the moment, and the main character, Chris Pulaski, was the guitarist in the band, and it's her story as she's figuring out what happened to cause their band to break up and to cause the lead singer of the band to have such ridiculous fame, like Beatle level fame, and like what happened. And so you're following her as she's like unraveling what happened on that night they signed the contracts and gave away the band to the lead singer. It was a little bit predictable. Like, I knew it was happening the whole time. I knew where the story was going. It was never a big surprise, and I think that's part of why it's not a 5-star read for me. I think the ending of My Best Friend's Exorcism by him was a little bit better of an ending, to where, like, I didn't fully know the whole time how this was going to turn out. I knew from the beginning, like, exactly how this was going to end. So I was a little bit unsurprised by the ending, but it didn't really take away from my enjoyment. I still thoroughly had a fun time reading the story. There's a lot about heavy metal, like all the chapters are lyrics from metal songs or song titles, and it's a lot of fun if you know about that kind of stuff. I'm not like super into the heavy metal stuff like my husband is, but I'm familiar with it because of him. So I knew a lot going in. And I think that does aid in your enjoyment of it. Like I told my daughter, she's probably not going to like this because that's just not her thing. She doesn't like that kind of music. So I don't think she'd appreciate a lot of that stuff. But like, it was a lot of fun to read, and I'm definitely going to read more of his stuff. I have not picked up Horror Story yet, but Grady Hendrix is going to be at the Merrimack Valley Halloween Book Festival next month, and so I'm hoping to pick it up there. And I also want to get a copy of this because the hardcover is beautiful. I just saw pictures somebody posted online the other day. It's so pretty. It has like the black sprayed edges, and the cover, the naked hardcover, has runes all over it, and I need that. It sounds great. So that is a thing I'm probably going to acquire there, and of course get it signed, because of course. Next up, I'm going to talk about Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which I have finally read. I feel like maybe I was the last person in the book world to pick this up. Definitely the last person on BookTube, but I finally have. And I gave it a 4-star. It was good. I don't know. I think whenever something's been like super hyped up for me, I'm just never going to fully appreciate it for what I would had I not been told how amazing the book was. And so I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. It wasn't like the best thing I ever read, but I will say I liked this more than I liked Shadow and Bone, which is the only book in the Grishaverse series that I've read besides this now. And I thought that was very okay, but I was curious enough to want to continue. I own the whole series. Have I continued? No. But I will probably read Crooked Kingdom at some point. I say that, and I'm lying, because I never finish series. It's very rare that I read a whole series all the way through in like a reasonable amount of time. But I did like this. I liked the characters. I liked the whole heist plot. I thought it was well done. I thought the whole world was interesting. I really appreciate the Russian like influences in the story as opposed to your typical medieval England fantasy stuff. And I don't know, I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. This was a great book to pick up after finishing all of the stuff I was working on with level 12 and all the really heavy modern history stuff. So this was really great to fall into something that was just fun and that I didn't have to like think super hard as I was reading it. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I'll probably read the next book. The last book I want to talk about is also my favorite book that I read this month, and that is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This was completely an impulse buy. Seriously, I was talking to Sarah, and I am obsessed right now with Hadestown, the musical. If you haven't listened to the soundtrack, oh my god, go look it up on YouTube. It's so good. It is like my current obsession. I listen to it all the time. I'm constantly humming the songs, and it's everything. So I was talking to Sarah, and I said, do you know of any books that are like based on the Orpheus and Eurydice or the Persephone Hades myth? I really want some Greek mythology right now. I'm feeling the need for it. And she's like, I haven't read it, but I heard about this book, Lovely War. You might want to check that out. So I looked it up, and immediately purchased it, and then as soon as it came, I picked it up to read it. I just needed it right there, right then. I gave this book 5 stars, and it is maybe my favorite book I've read this year, because, I don't know, it was just the perfect time for me to read it. This book has a lot of the things in it that I love. So, let me tell you what this is so that you might want to go pick up your own copy, because it's amazing. So this story follows these characters who are living during the World War I. You're following Hazel, Windicott, and James Aldridge, and you're also following Aubrey, whose last name I cannot remember right now, and Colette. The story is about their love affairs against the backdrop of World War I, which on its own I think I would still enjoy. But what makes this book just over the top amazing is that it is told from the perspective of the Greek gods, who are having an argument about who cheated on who and who's a better spouse, and what does love mean? Is Aphrodite's job worthy of the gods? She's arguing with Ares over whether or not his purpose is more important than her purpose during a war, and how they go together. I love stories that are told like that. Like, there's something about a meta story where you know you're being told a story through another story. I love that. I love that trope. And I loved the way the stories of these 4 individuals were intertwined, and how Aphrodite had a hand in a lot of it, but so did Apollo, and so did Ares, and so did Hades. And it's just so beautifully done. It's woven together so well. The characters are all so vivid and beautifully done, and the setting is gorgeous, and I just loved every second of this book. I want to start it over and read it again. I gave it 5 stars. Is this probably going to end up being my favorite book of the year? I can't imagine reading something more amazing than this. So those are the books that I read in the month of August. I feel like I had a really good reading month, even though I didn't read a ton. I loved everything I read. I'm very excited now that I have like time to pick up other things. I have so many books that I want to pick up next month. We're going to get into my TBR in the next video. So what did you read in the month of August? I'd love to know. Let's chat about it down in the comments. And thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.